Mia Carter sat at her workstation deep within the sprawling military intelligence base, her fingers poised above the keyboard like a pianist ready to commence a delicate piece. The room around her was quiet, save for the faint hum of servers and the steady tapping of keys from the few other analysts working late shifts. Rows upon rows of computer terminals stretched out in neat formation, a sea of screens bathing the dimly lit room in a bluish glow. To many, it was an unremarkable place, a backwater of classified data, quietly processed and filed away, but to Mia, it was the nerve center of a vast operation, where every keystroke mattered. Her desk was orderly, a small digital clock displaying military time, a secure headset resting beside her mouse, and a few personal items carefully arranged, a photo of her younger brother in uniform, a well-worn notebook filled with scribbled codes and reminders. The monotony of her data entry job was palpable to casual observers, but Mia embraced it with a quiet resolve. She understood that behind every encrypted file she uploaded, every code she verified, was a contribution to the larger mission of national security. It was a role unseen by most, often overlooked, but essential nonetheless. Mia's eyes flicked across the screen as she methodically entered strings of classified information, cross-referencing each entry against a complex web of secure protocols. The work demanded patience and precision, qualities Mia had cultivated since her earliest days in service. She had joined the Military Intelligence Corps with a desire to serve her country in a meaningful way, though she hadn't imagined her path would lead her to such a solitary post. Yet here she was, tucked away in this cavernous operations center, responsible for the silent flow of critical data that could make or break missions in the field. The atmosphere was subdued, the few conversations that occurred muffled and brief, with colleagues exchanging curt updates or sharing tired jokes about the monotony of their assignments. Some glanced at Mia's station with indifference, convinced that data entry was the dullest task on base, a job anyone could do without special skill. But Mia knew better. She had seen firsthand how a single misplaced digit or overlooked protocol could trigger security breaches or misdirect valuable resources. Her focus never wavered, despite the temptation to let her mind wander amid the quiet drone of fluorescent lights and cooling fans. Outside the reinforced glass walls of the operations center, the base buzzed with activity, soldiers training, officers strategizing, communications teams relaying sensitive messages. Yet inside this room, time seemed to slow. Mia found a strange comfort in the predictability of her routine, the steady rhythm of data flowing through her fingers. She took pride in her role as a gatekeeper of information, the quiet guardian of secrets that few would ever know existed. Her supervisor, Lieutenant Ramirez, had once remarked that Mia's work was the backbone of their intelligence efforts, though he rarely made such comments openly. Mia had learned to accept the invisibility that came with her position, channeling her energy into maintaining impeccable standards. Each file she processed was a testament to her discipline, a silent contribution to the safety of countless lives. As the night deepened, Mia glanced at the clock. Hours of steady work lay ahead, but she felt no fatigue, only a steady determination. She adjusted her headset, ready to receive the next batch of encrypted transmissions, knowing that her meticulous care was what kept the gears of the base turning. In a world where heroes often wore combat boots and bore weapons, Mia's battlefield was the digital realm, and her weapon was precision. In this quiet corner of the military intelligence base, where the hum of technology was the soundtrack and the glow of monitors the only light, Mia Carter embraced the essential yet overlooked nature of her duty. It was a job without fanfare or glory, but to her, it was a mission worthy of unwavering focus and respect. Mia Carter's day began and ended with ritual, each movement deliberate, a series of small acts that fortified her commitment to the silent work entrusted to her. As dawn's first light crept through the narrow windows of the operations center, she settled into her seat, her fingers already accustomed to the familiar dance across the keyboard. The room was still quiet, the rare conversations of earlier shifts replaced by the steady, almost hypnotic tapping of keys and the occasional murmur of security updates. To the untrained eye, it might have seemed as though nothing significant was unfolding, but Mia knew that every keystroke, every entry, carried the weight of national security. Her meticulous approach to handling classified information was born from both training and experience. Before she ever touched a terminal, she had been drilled in the importance of precision, the necessity of following protocol without deviation. It was not enough to be fast, she had to be flawless. An error could cascade into catastrophic failures, a misrouted message, a compromised operation, a breach that could cost lives. This knowledge sharpened her attention, transforming what some might see as mundane data entry into a critical safeguard. Each morning, Mia began by double-checking her secure communication channels, ensuring encryption keys were current and uncompromised. Her eyes scanned lines of code, confirming that each segment matched expected patterns, a process she had repeated so many times it had become second nature. She cross-referenced entries against secure databases, verifying that every piece of information aligned perfectly before moving forward. Her training allowed her to spot inconsistencies that others might miss, subtle anomalies buried within strings of data that could signal potential threats. Colleagues often marveled at her unwavering focus, though some dismissed it as overcautiousness. Many of them saw the work as tedious, unnecessary but uninspiring means to an end. Casual conversations around the break room echoed with jabs about the monotony of their assignments, just punching keys all day, a phrase tossed about with a mixture of resignation and humor. Yet Mia remained detached from such attitudes, viewing her role through a lens of duty rather than boredom. To her, the fact that the work was unseen by most only underscored its importance. During her shifts, she maintained a set of small rituals designed to sustain her vigilance. Before starting a new batch of data, she would take a moment to clear her mind, breathing deliberately as she reviewed the security protocols displayed on her screen. She adjusted her headset, ensuring the connection was secure and free from interference. When fatigue threatened to encroach, she would briefly stretch her fingers or sip from her water bottle, small acts that refreshed her focus without breaking concentration. The secure terminals around her hummed softly, their screens flickering with lines of code and encrypted transmissions. Each message Mia processed was a puzzle, a complex weave of numbers and symbols that required her careful attention. She became adept at recognizing patterns, at deciphering the subtle rhythms of communication that underpinned the base's intelligence efforts. Her work was not glamorous, but it was precise, and in its precision lay its power. Despite her dedication, Mia was aware of the indifference that colored the perceptions of many around her. Some co-workers would joke about how anyone could do that job, implying that it required neither skill nor intellect. Others seemed eager to move on to more visible or physically demanding roles, viewing the data entry station as a holding pen for the unambitious. Mia understood their perspective but refused to let it diminish her resolve. She knew that her contributions formed the foundation upon which successful operations were built. Her supervisor, Lieutenant Ramirez, occasionally stopped by her station, not to micromanage but to check in silently. He rarely spoke at length, but his brief nods of approval were a quiet acknowledgement of her reliability. In a field where mistakes were costly, having someone as meticulous as Mia on the team was a comfort. Still, such recognition was subtle, wrapped in the unspoken understanding that the work itself was its own reward. As the hours dragged on, the routine threatened to dull the senses, but Mia fought back against complacency. She reminded herself that behind every encrypted file was a story, a mission in progress, lives at risk, decisions hinging on the accuracy of her work. The enormity of that responsibility gave her a sense of purpose, even when the world outside the operations center seemed indifferent to her efforts. She occasionally caught glimpses of her colleagues exchanging frustrated glances or sighing heavily as they rotated through their assignments. Some expressed a longing for more dynamic roles, assignments that carried the thrill of fieldwork or the camaraderie of combat units. Mia respected their ambitions but remained steadfast in her belief that every role within the military intelligence community had value. Her own path might be quiet, confined to the glow of computer screens and the logic of encryption, but it was no less vital. Throughout the day, Mia maintained strict adherence to security procedures. She ensured that all communication protocols were followed without exception. No unauthorized devices near terminals, all transmissions encrypted to the highest standards, and every file verified through multiple layers of authentication. Her focus on these details was unwavering, a shield against the vulnerabilities that could be exploited by adversaries. When new data batches arrived, Mia welcomed the challenge, viewing each as an opportunity to reaffirm her skills. She methodically parsed through the information, checking and rechecking entries, her mind attuned to the subtle irregularities that might escape a less trained eye. Her ability to remain calm under the quiet pressure of responsibility distinguished her from others who might find the monotony draining. Despite the isolation inherent in her role, Mia found a certain discipline in the solitude. The absence of distractions allowed her to immerse herself fully in the task at hand. Her concentration became a kind of meditation, a steady pulse that kept her grounded in the knowledge that she was contributing to something far larger than herself. As the shift wore on, the weight of responsibility was never far from her thoughts. She reminded herself that even though her work might go unnoticed, it formed the backbone of intelligence operations. Without her vigilance, the smooth flow of classified information would falter, risking exposure and failure. That thought kept her alert, fueled her dedication. Mia's commitment extended beyond just the technical aspects of her job. She took pride in maintaining the integrity of her workstation, ensuring that all equipment was functioning optimally and that her digital environment was secure. She followed strict protocols for data disposal and hardware security, understanding that even a single lapse could have serious consequences. In moments between data batches, Mia reviewed training materials and security updates, always striving to improve her knowledge and skills. She was aware that the landscape of cyber threats and intelligence challenges was constantly evolving, and staying ahead required continual learning. Her proactive approach set her apart, even if it went unnoticed by most. The contrast between her dedication and the casual indifference of some coworkers was stark. Where others saw a job to endure, Mia saw a mission to fulfill. Her disciplined attention to detail, her unwavering adherence to protocol, and her calm demeanor under pressure made her a silent pillar within the intelligence community on base. As the day transitioned into evening, the operations center remained a bastion of quiet efficiency. Mia's fingers continued their steady rhythm, a testament to her commitment. The glow of the monitors reflected in her eyes, sharp and focused, a reflection of the resolve that defined her approach to the work that many dismissed as routine. In the world of military intelligence, where victories often went unrecognized and sacrifices remained hidden, Mia Carter's meticulous method was both her shield and her strength. Through unwavering attention to detail and steadfast dedication, she ensured that the flow of classified information remained secure, safeguarding the lives and missions that depended on her quiet vigilance. Mia Carter sat at her workstation, the steady hum of servers providing a constant backdrop to the repetitive tapping of keys. For hours, she had been immersed in the flow of classified data, her mind finely tuned to the rhythm of verification codes and encryption keys. Yet beneath the surface of her practiced routine, a quiet unease had begun to take root, a question that lingered in the corners of her thoughts, refusing to be dismissed: did her work truly matter in the grand scheme of the base's mission? It was not a question born of doubt in her abilities. She knew her skills were sharp, her attention to detail unwavering. But the nature of her role, confined to a desk, hidden behind layers of digital security, sometimes left her feeling invisible, like a ghost in the machine. She watched as more visible operations garnered praise and recognition, while the steady flow of data she managed remained unnoticed. The disparity gnawed at her, planting seeds of uncertainty that she struggled to suppress. During a rare break, Mia found herself in the small, sterile break room, sipping lukewarm coffee as she listened to the casual chatter of her co-workers. The conversation drifted toward upcoming assignments and the excitement of field operations, missions that promised adrenaline and tangible impact. One analyst, a junior named Carter, no relation, shrugged dismissively: "Honestly, I don't get why we waste so much time on data entry. It's just pushing buttons all day. The real action is out there, with the teams on the ground." Mia listened silently, a knot tightening in her chest. She wanted to respond, to defend the importance of her work, but the words caught in her throat. Instead, she forced a polite smile and returned to her station, the casual dismissal echoing in her mind. It was a reminder of the invisible boundary that separated her from those who saw their roles as heroic and tangible. Back at her workstation, Mia stared at the screen, the lines of code blurring as her thoughts wandered. She recalled the countless times she had double-checked files, corrected errors, and ensured secure transmissions, all acts that prevented potential breaches or miscommunications. Yet, in the grand narrative of the base's operations, these acts remained buried, overshadowed by the more dramatic exploits of field agents and command officers. The feeling of invisibility was compounded by the nature of her interactions. Most communication was transactional and terse, limited to the essential exchange of information. Colleagues treated her with professional courtesy, but few engaged beyond the surface. The camaraderie that blossomed in shared hardships and visible challenges seemed elusive from her isolated vantage point. Mia's mind drifted further into reflection. She wondered if her career path would ever diverge from this quiet existence. Was she destined to remain behind the screens, a silent guardian of secrets, or could she find a way to contribute more visibly? The thought was both tantalizing and daunting. She feared stepping beyond her comfort zone, yet the desire to prove herself burned quietly within. Later that day, during a brief lull, a casual conversation with her teammate Jenna provided an unexpected mirror to her internal struggle. Jenna, younger and more outspoken, had recently expressed frustration with her own role. "Sometimes I feel like I'm stuck in neutral, Jenna said, her voice tinged with impatience. We do all this clerical stuff, and no one ever notices. It's like we're ghosts. Mia nodded, recognizing the sentiment. But Jenna's approach was different. She seemed ready to rebel against the monotony, to push for change. Mia admired that courage but felt anchored by her sense of responsibility. I think every piece counts, Mia replied softly. Even if it's not flashy, it's essential. Without the groundwork, the rest can't function. Jenna shrugged, unconvinced but respectful. Their exchange lingered in Mia's thoughts. It highlighted the divide between those who accepted invisibility as part of duty and those who chafed against it. Mia found herself straddling the line, torn between contentment with her role and a yearning for recognition. As the shift resumed, Mia's focus sharpened, but the question of purpose remained. She sought solace in the details, the patterns in the data, the protocols that governed her work. She reminded herself that discipline was not just about precision but about trust. Her superiors depended on her to maintain the integrity of information, a trust that, though silent, carried weight. Yet, the emotional toll was undeniable. Moments of doubt crept in during the quiet hours, when the hum of machines was the only sound and the glow of screens the only light. Mia grappled with feelings of isolation, wondering if her efforts were seen, or if they would ever be seen, by those whose praise meant the most. The dichotomy between duty and desire weighed heavily. She recalled the pride she felt during basic training, the sense of purpose that had drawn her to military intelligence. That purpose had not diminished but had been complicated by the realities of her assignment. The question was no longer about competence, but about meaning. In a rare moment of vulnerability, Mia confided in her supervisor, Lieutenant Ramirez, during a routine check-in. Sometimes I wonder if what I do here really makes a difference, she admitted, her voice low. It feels like I'm just a cog in a machine, invisible and replaceable. Ramirez regarded her thoughtfully, his gaze steady. I understand how it can feel that way, he said. But the work you do is the foundation of every operation that succeeds. Without your vigilance, mistakes would slip through, and lives could be lost. Recognition isn't always immediate or public, but that doesn't mean it's not there. His words offered some comfort, yet they also underscored the reality that Mia's contributions would likely remain behind the scenes. She accepted the truth but wrestled with its emotional weight. The tension between wanting to be seen and knowing the necessity of invisibility created a quiet storm within her. As the day drew to a close, Mia returned to her station, resuming her meticulous work with renewed determination. She focused on the tasks before her, resolving to let her discipline speak louder than her doubts. The intangible nature of her role did not diminish its importance, she reminded herself. If anything, it elevated it. In the solitude of the operations center, with only the glow of monitors and the steady pulse of data to accompany her, Mia Carter confronted the paradox of her service, dedicated, essential, yet often unseen. It was a challenge she carried silently, a burden she bore with quiet strength, even as she longed for a moment when her work might be acknowledged not just as necessary, but as worthy of respect. The quiet hum of the operations center was abruptly shattered by the sharp chime of an incoming encrypted message. Mia Carter's fingers froze mid-keystroke as the alert flashed across her monitor, demanding immediate attention. The routine hum of data gave way to a sudden spike in tension, the room's atmosphere shifting imperceptibly but palpably. She leaned forward, eyes narrowing as she scanned the stream of coded information flowing onto her screen. This was no ordinary transmission, the encryption was layered deeper, the content flagged with a high-security alert. Mia's training kicked in instantly, her mind racing through protocols and decryption methods she had drilled countless times. The weight of responsibility settled heavily on her shoulders, but she welcomed it, the chance to prove her worth beyond the quiet confines of data entry. She isolated the message, running it through a series of verification steps, cross-referencing the metadata and confirming the source's authenticity. The intricate patterns of encryption challenged her, but her steady hands and sharp mind cut through the complexity with practiced precision. Suddenly, the heavy steel door to the operations center swung open, and Colonel Marcus Grant strode in with purposeful urgency. His presence commanded attention, a high-ranking intelligence officer known for his no-nonsense approach and keen strategic mind. The room's low murmur faded as all eyes turned to him. Mia felt a flicker of apprehension but remained composed, her gaze locked on the incoming data. Status report, Colonel Grant demanded, scanning the room until his eyes settled on Mia. What's the nature of this alert? Mia's voice was calm, betraying none of the adrenaline coursing through her veins. Encrypted communication, sir. High-level clearance required. I am currently decrypting the message and verifying its integrity. Preliminary analysis suggests a potential security breach. Grant nodded sharply, his expression hardening. Time is critical. Proceed. Mia's fingers flew over the keyboard, executing commands to peel back the layers of encryption. Each command brought her closer to the core of the message, revealing fragments that hinted at an imminent cyber threat targeting the base's secure networks. The implications were grave. If the threat succeeded, it could compromise operational integrity and endanger personnel. The room's tension thickened as Mia worked, her focus absolute. Despite the pressure, she maintained a steady rhythm, methodically breaking down the message's defenses. Her earlier doubts about her role dissolved in the face of this urgent task. Here, her skills were not only needed but vital. Minutes stretched as the decryption process continued, every second laden with consequence. Finally, the screen cleared, revealing the full contents of the alert, a sophisticated cyber attack plan to disable critical communication channels during a forthcoming operation. Mia's pulse quickened. This was a direct threat to the base's security. Colonel Grant stepped closer, his gaze intense. Good work, Carter. Now, trace the origin of this transmission. We need to identify the source before they can execute the attack. Acknowledging the command, Mia initiated a series of digital traces, analyzing IP addresses, signal patterns, and routing protocols. The process demanded meticulous attention. A single misstep could send them down a false path. Her fingers danced across the keyboard, navigating complex firewall architectures and countermeasures designed to mask the attacker's identity. As she worked, Colonel Grant briefly surveyed the room, taking in the faces of the analysts. Most were tense but focused, aware that a breach of this magnitude could jeopardize their entire operation. His eyes returned to Mia, silently assessing her composure under pressure. The trace began to yield results. Mia isolated a cluster of suspicious nodes, narrowing down the likely origin to a hostile entity operating from an unregistered network. The information was fragmented but actionable. She compiled a detailed report, highlighting the critical points and potential vulnerabilities. Sir, Mia said, the source appears to be an external cyber unit with advanced capabilities. They're exploiting a zero-day vulnerability in our communication infrastructure. Grant's expression darkened. We need to act fast. Mobilize the cyber defense teams immediately. Carter, your analysis will be the foundation for their response. Mia nodded, her mind already shifting to the next steps. She dispatched encrypted packets containing her findings to the appropriate units, ensuring the data was protected against interception. The weight of responsibility was immense, but she felt a surge of purpose, the kind that had eluded her in quieter moments. Colonel Grant addressed the team, his voice steady but commanding. This is a coordinated effort to undermine our security. Thanks to Carter's swift work, we have a chance to counteract before the attack unfolds. Everyone, double down on your protocols. We cannot afford a single failure. The room sprang into heightened activity, analysts and technicians moving with renewed urgency. Amid the flurry, Mia remained a calm anchor, monitoring data streams, verifying updates, and providing real-time insights. Her earlier feelings of invisibility vanished, replaced by the clarity that came from active contribution. Throughout the emergency, Mia's training and alertness proved invaluable. She caught discrepancies in the defense team's initial assessments, correcting potential errors before they could escalate. Her precise communication ensured that critical information flowed seamlessly between units, maintaining the integrity of the response. Colonel Grant watched her closely, noting the quiet efficiency with which she managed her responsibilities. He recognized the discipline and competence that often went overlooked in the background roles. His respect for her grew, though he maintained his usual reserved demeanor. As hours passed, the immediate threat was contained. The cyber defense teams, armed with Mia's analysis, implemented countermeasures that neutralized the vulnerability. The base's communication channels stabilized, and the risk of compromise faded. In the aftermath, the operations center gradually returned to its usual rhythm. The tension eased, replaced by a collective sense of relief and accomplishment. Mia leaned back in her chair briefly, allowing herself a moment to process the intensity of the experience. Colonel Grant approached her workstation, his gaze direct. Carter, your work today was exceptional. You handled a critical situation with precision and calm. That kind of performance can make the difference between success and failure. Mia felt a flush of pride but kept her response measured. Thank you, sir. I was just doing my duty. Grant's expression softened slightly. Duty is exactly what we need, but it's your skill and dedication that stood out. Keep it up. As he moved on to coordinate with other officers, Mia returned her attention to the screens, her mind still racing with the implications of the near breach. The day's events had shattered the illusion of invisibility she sometimes felt. In moments like these, the quiet work behind the scenes became the frontline defense. The experience left Mia with a profound sense of purpose. She realized that her role, though often overlooked, was integral to the safety and success of the entire base. The precision and discipline she brought to her work were not just routine but essential weapons in the ongoing battle to secure their operations. Her fingers resumed their steady rhythm across the keyboard, each keystroke now carrying the weight of renewed confidence. The encrypted messages continued to flow, and Mia was ready, alert, capable, and valued in ways she had only recently begun to understand. In the aftermath of the cyber threat that had rattled the base's intelligence operations, the atmosphere within the operations center remained charged, a mixture of relief and renewed vigilance settling over the team. Mia Carter sat quietly at her workstation, her fingers still moving with practiced precision as she reviewed logs and verified system integrity. Despite the return to routine, the echoes of the emergency lingered in her mind, a reminder of the fragile balance between security and vulnerability. It was during the afternoon briefing that the unexpected recognition arrived. The conference room was filled with senior staff and key personnel, the air thick with the weight of responsibility carried by those who held the base's security in their hands. Colonel Marcus Grant stood at the front, his presence commanding attention as he addressed the assembled team. His voice was steady, unwavering, cutting through the murmurs that rippled through the room. I want to acknowledge the work done by every member of this team during the recent cyber threat, Grant began, his gaze sweeping across the room before settling briefly on Mia. However, there is one individual whose quick and accurate analysis played a pivotal role in neutralizing the attack before it could compromise our operations. A pause, deliberate and measured, drew the eyes of everyone toward Mia's seat. She felt a flush rise to her cheeks, the usual quiet confidence giving way to a swirl of surprise and uncertainty. Colonel Grant's tone softened slightly, but the weight of his words was unmistakable. Private First Class Mia Carter demonstrated exceptional skill under pressure. Her meticulous decryption and rapid identification of the threat's origin provided the foundation for our cyber defense response. Without her precision and calm, the outcome could have been very different. The room erupted into quiet applause, a respectful acknowledgement that carried far more meaning than the words alone. Mia sat frozen for a moment, absorbing the unexpected praise that shattered her long-held sense of invisibility. The recognition was not just professional validation, it was a moment of personal reckoning. When the briefing concluded, Colonel Grant approached Mia directly, his demeanor stripped of formalities. "Carter, I wanted to thank you personally. Your work today didn't just meet expectations, it exceeded them. You kept your cool when it mattered most, and that's the mark of true professionalism." Mia struggled to find words, the surprise still fresh. "Thank you, sir. I just did what I was trained to do." Grant nodded, a faint smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "That's exactly why I'm confident you'll continue to be an asset to this unit. Keep focusing on discipline and precision. They're the keys to success here." Word of Mia's contribution spread quickly through the base, carried by whispers and nods of acknowledgement. The quiet data clerk, often overlooked, had stepped into the spotlight in a way few had anticipated. Peers who once regarded her with indifferent tolerance now regarded her with a mixture of admiration and curiosity. In the days that followed, Mia noticed subtle changes in her interactions. Colleagues who previously bypassed her with casual indifference now sought her input during routine checks and data reviews. The casual banter shifted, peppered with compliments and questions about her approach to handling critical tasks. The newfound respect was both gratifying and disorienting, challenging the identity she had built around quiet competence. Her close friend Jenna approached with a teasing grin, a sparkle of mischief in her eyes. "Look at you, the go-to person for crisis management. Who would have thought the desk job could be so exciting?" Mia laughed softly, shaking her head. "Exciting isn't exactly how I describe it, but I'm glad my work matters." Jenna nudged her playfully. "Matter? You're practically a legend now. Just don't let it go to your head." The light-hearted exchange brought a welcome relief from the weight of recent events, reminding Mia of the bonds that sustained her through long hours and quiet moments. Yet beneath the humor lay a deeper shift, an awakening to the impact her role could have beyond the screen. Despite the praise, Mia remained grounded, aware that recognition was only a part of the journey. She returned to her duties with a renewed sense of purpose, determined to live up to the expectations now placed upon her. The quiet pride that accompanied the acknowledgement fueled her commitment, transforming doubt into confidence. Her supervisor, Lieutenant Ramirez, offered a rare smile during a routine check-in. "You handled yourself well under pressure, Carter. The colonel's praise is well deserved. Keep this up, and opportunities will open for you." Mia absorbed his words, the encouragement a balm to the insecurities that lingered beneath her calm exterior. The path ahead was still uncertain, but the affirmation of her value within the team illuminated the way forward. As the base settled back into its steady rhythm, Mia found herself reflecting on the journey that had brought her here, from the overlooked data entry clerk to a recognized contributor in a critical moment. The experience reshaped her perception of her role, revealing that even the quietest work could hold immense significance. Sitting once again at her workstation, Mia felt the familiar glow of her monitor, now imbued with a new meaning. Each keystroke was no longer just a routine task but a deliberate act of defense, a vital link in a chain that protected countless lives and missions. The recognition she had received was not an endpoint but a catalyst, igniting a deeper dedication to excellence. The challenges ahead remained, as did the shadows of doubt and the weight of responsibility. But Mia Carter faced them with a steady heart and a sharpened resolve, ready to embrace whatever lay beyond the glow of the screen. Her quiet journey had taken a decisive turn, and she was prepared to meet it with the same discipline and precision that had earned her newfound respect. The news of Mia Carter's crucial role in thwarting the cyber attack traveled swiftly through the base, carried on whispered conversations and sidelong glances that were impossible to ignore. Where once her presence was met with polite nods or indifferent shrugs, now the atmosphere around her subtly shifted, charged with a mix of admiration and something less easy to define. Mia felt it keenly, a new weight resting alongside her steady sense of duty. Walking through the corridors, she caught the occasional glance of respect, sometimes fleeting, sometimes lingering just long enough to unsettle her. The quiet analyst who had blended into the background was suddenly a figure of interest, her name spoken with a newfound reverence. But with the admiration came an undercurrent of envy, a subtle tension that reminded Mia the military's tight-knit community was not without its rivalries. At the operations center, some colleagues approached her with cautious smiles, eager to glean insight or share a quick word of congratulations. Others maintained a polite distance, their expressions guarded, eyes wary. The shift in dynamics was unmistakable. Mia found herself navigating a complex social terrain, where respect and resentment wove an intricate web. Her close friend Jenna, ever the candid one, seized the opportunity to tease her mercilessly. "Well, look at you, Miss Cybersecurity Superstar," Jenna quipped one afternoon as they sat in the break room, coffee cups in hand. "Suddenly everyone wants to be your best friend, or at least borrow your notes." Mia chuckled, shaking her head. "I don't know about all that. It's just a lot to take in." Jenna smirked. "You're the go-to person for critical tasks now. People are watching. You've got a target on your back, whether you like it or not." The warning wasn't lost on Mia. She understood that recognition brought not only opportunity but scrutiny. The delicate balance between camaraderie and competition was a familiar undercurrent in military life, and she was learning to navigate it in real time. Back at her workstation, Mia noticed the subtle changes in how her peers interacted. Invitations to collaborate increased, and requests for her input on complex data sets became more frequent. Some colleagues sought her out for guidance, while others cast sidelong glances, their conversations pausing as she approached. The social dynamic had shifted from passive coexistence to active engagement, though not always with warmth. The newfound attention stirred a mix of emotions within Mia. Pride mingled with discomfort, and a quiet anxiety settled beneath her composed exterior. She cherished the respect but feared the isolation that sometimes accompanied it. The line between being valued and being isolated was thin, and she felt the tension acutely. Despite the challenges, Mia remained focused on her work. She recognized that her role carried greater expectations now and that she would need to demonstrate not only competence but leadership. The mantle of responsibility weighed heavily, but she welcomed it as a chance to grow. During one particularly busy shift, Mia was approached by Sergeant Alvarez, a seasoned analyst known for his sharp mind and candid assessments. "Carter," he said quietly, "your work's been impressive, no doubt. But be ready for the grumbling. Not everyone likes change, especially when it challenges old hierarchies." Mia met his gaze steadily. "I'm aware, Sergeant. I just want to keep doing my best." Alvarez nodded approvingly. "Good. Keep your head down, stay sharp, and let your work speak louder than the noise." His advice resonated, reminding Mia that success in this environment required both skill and resilience. She resolved to maintain her discipline, letting her actions define her rather than the whispers that followed. Meanwhile, the base's social fabric subtly adjusted to Mia's rising profile. Invitations to training sessions and briefings came more frequently, and senior officers began to seek her perspective on data security protocols. The shift was both exhilarating and daunting. The quiet analyst who had once questioned her place now found herself at the center of critical discussions. Jenna, ever supportive, continued to offer a grounding presence. "Just don't forget who you are," she reminded Mia one evening as they walked back from the mess hall. "The same person who worked those long hours when no one was watching." Mia smiled, grateful for the reminder. "I won't. This changes nothing about why I do the work." As days turned into weeks, Mia adapted to her evolving role. She learned to navigate the complex social currents, balancing approachability with professionalism. The envy and admiration that swirled around her became background noise she learned to filter out, focusing instead on the tasks that defined her. Her dedication to mentoring newer analysts began to emerge naturally. Recognizing the value of guidance she had once craved, Mia took it upon herself to share best practices and foster a culture of precision and discipline. Her influence grew quietly but steadily, shaping the ethos of the team. Yet, beneath the surface, the pressures of expectation remained. Mia was keenly aware that mistakes now carried greater consequences, that her performance was under closer scrutiny. The stakes were higher, and the margin for error narrower. One afternoon, as she reviewed a complex data set with a junior analyst, Mia caught herself hesitating, a rare moment of self-doubt. But she pushed through, offering clear guidance and encouragement. The analyst's grateful nod reminded Mia why she embraced this role, despite its challenges. In the solitude of her workstation, Mia reflected on the journey from obscurity to prominence. The path had not been easy, marked by internal conflict and external pressures. Yet, she found strength in the knowledge that her commitment to discipline and excellence was making a tangible difference. The base was a microcosm of ambition and rivalry, of alliance and competition. Mia navigated its shifting currents with growing confidence, understanding that respect was earned not just through skill but through resilience and grace under pressure. As evening settled over the base, the operations center's glow casting long shadows, Mia Carter remained at her station, steady and focused. The whispers of admiration and envy swirled around her like a distant storm, but she was anchored by purpose and resolve. Her quiet influence was growing, one keystroke, one interaction at a time, shaping not only the security of the base but the culture of those who served within its walls. The morning sunlight filtered through the narrow windows of the military intelligence base as Mia Carter gathered her belongings, preparing for a temporary transfer that had come as both a surprise and a challenge. Colonel Marcus Grant himself had requested her presence in the Cyber Operations Unit, an elite division tasked with defending the base against increasingly sophisticated digital threats. The offer was an opportunity, one Mia had quietly hoped for, but it also meant stepping into unfamiliar territory, where seasoned operatives scrutinized every move. As she arrived at the Cyber Operations Wing, Mia felt the weight of skepticism hanging in the air. The unit was a hive of activity, analysts and technicians moving with brisk efficiency amid banks of monitors flashing streams of data. It was a far cry from the controlled quiet of her usual workstation. The atmosphere buzzed with urgency and expertise, and Mia was acutely aware of the eyes watching her, some curious, others doubtful. Lieutenant Harper, a veteran of numerous cyber engagements, greeted her with a measured nod. "So, you're the analyst Grant thinks can keep up with us," he said, his tone edged with skepticism. "We don't have time to babysit. Hope you're ready." Mia met his gaze steadily. "I'm here to contribute," she replied quietly but firmly. "I'm ready to learn and work hard." Harper's expression didn't soften, but he gestured toward an empty station. "We'll see. The pace here isn't for everyone." Settling into the new environment, Mia quickly realized the gulf between the Cyber Operations Unit and her previous assignment. Here, the tempo was relentless, decisions had to be made in seconds, and the margin for error was razor-thin. The seasoned operative spoke a language of protocols and tactics that Mia was still mastering. Yet, beneath the initial intimidation, she found a spark of determination. Her first tasks involved monitoring network traffic for anomalies, tracing suspicious activity, and assisting in deploying countermeasures. The work demanded rapid analysis and immediate action, qualities Mia had honed but now tested under far more intense conditions. Early on, she encountered moments of hesitation, the pressure threatening to overwhelm her. Colleagues whispered doubts, questioning the wisdom of assigning a desk analyst to such a high-stakes environment. One operative, Specialist Reed, was particularly vocal. "This isn't some data entry gig," she remarked during a shift change. "If you can't keep up, you're just in the way." Mia absorbed the criticism without response, channeling it into focus. She reminded herself that discipline and attention to detail, her strengths, were assets even here. Gradually, she found her rhythm, identifying patterns in the noise, flagging inconsistencies that others overlooked. Her calm under pressure began to earn quiet nods from the team. Colonel Grant stopped by the unit one afternoon, observing the operations with his usual intensity. He approached Mia's station, his eyes sharp but unreadable. "How are you holding up?" he asked. "Adjusting," Mia admitted. "The pace is demanding, but I'm learning quickly." Grant nodded approvingly. "Good. Your discipline and sharp mind are exactly why you were chosen. Don't let the skeptics shake you." His words bolstered Mia's resolve. She recognized that earning trust here required more than competence, it demanded resilience and the willingness to prove herself repeatedly. She embraced the challenge, pushing herself to anticipate threats, refine her analyses, and communicate clearly under pressure. As days turned into weeks, Mia's presence began to shift the unit's dynamics. She contributed to identifying subtle cyber intrusions that had eluded initial detection, her methodical approach complementing the rapid-fire tactics of her teammates. Her ability to maintain composure during high-tension moments became an asset, offering a stabilizing influence amid the chaos. Still, the path was not without hurdles. Moments of self-doubt surfaced during complex operations, when the stakes felt impossibly high. Mia grappled with the pressure of heightened expectations and the lingering skepticism of some peers. Yet each success, no matter how small, reinforced her confidence. She sought opportunities to support newer analysts, sharing insights on protocol adherence and data integrity. Her mentorship was subtle but effective, fostering a culture of discipline that resonated with those around her. Slowly, the walls of doubt began to crumble. Lieutenant Harper, once guarded, acknowledged her contributions during a debriefing. "You've surprised me," he conceded. "Your attention to detail saved us from overlooking a critical breach. Keep this up." Mia allowed herself a brief smile, aware that respect in this environment was earned through action, not words. Colonel Grant's belief in her capabilities remained a steady beacon. His occasional nods during operations were silent endorsements, reminders that her journey was just beginning. The temporary detail was a test, but also a proving ground. Outside the high-tech confines of the Cyber Operations Unit, rumors circulated about Mia's assignment. Some questioned the decision to entrust a data entry analyst with such responsibilities, while others watched with cautious optimism. Mia understood that perceptions mattered, but she focused on the work itself, letting her performance speak. In the quiet moments between shifts, she reflected on the transformation she was undergoing. The transition from a behind-the-scenes clerk to an active participant in frontline cyber defense was daunting, yet invigorating. The stakes were higher, the scrutiny sharper, but so was the opportunity to make a tangible difference. The challenges ahead were many: technical complexities, interpersonal dynamics, and the relentless pace of cyber warfare. But Mia Carter faced them with a steady heart and disciplined mind, determined to prove that precision and perseverance could carve a place even in the most demanding arenas. As she logged into her station one evening, the glow of monitors illuminating her focused expression, Mia felt the quiet satisfaction of progress. She was no longer just a keeper of data but a vital link in the chain of defense. The skepticism of others fueled her determination, and with each keystroke and analysis, she edged closer to earning the respect she sought, not through words, but through unwavering action. The Cyber Operations Unit thrummed with relentless energy, monitors pulsing with streams of data that seemed to flow faster than the eye could track. Mia Carter had settled into the rhythm of this high-stakes environment, her initial trepidation replaced by a growing confidence rooted in discipline and focus. The rapid pace demanded constant vigilance, but she found that her meticulous nature, once doubted by some colleagues, was becoming an indispensable asset. Each shift brought new challenges, complex cyber intrusions, layered encryption puzzles, and shifting threat vectors that required swift analysis and decisive action. Mia's ability to parse through the chaos, isolating anomalies with calm precision, earned her quiet nods from operatives who had once questioned her presence. That she remained composed under pressure became a stabilizing force within the unit, a steadying influence amid the storm of digital warfare. Her colleagues began to rely on her insights, recognizing that her attention to detail complemented their rapid-fire tactics. There were moments when the difference between success and failure hinged on the accuracy of her assessments. Mia's thoroughness prevented false alarms and ensured that genuine threats were prioritized swiftly. That balance of speed and precision gradually reshaped the team's dynamic. During intense operations, when the room buzzed with urgent commands and flashing alerts, Mia maintained a poised focus. She verified data streams, cross-checked system logs, and communicated potential vulnerabilities with clarity. Her calm voice cut through the noise, guiding the team's responses with measured authority. The quiet confidence she exuded inspired trust, fostering a collaborative environment where every member felt supported. As the days passed, Mia's influence extended beyond her immediate tasks. She began mentoring newer analysts, sharing best practices for data validation and secure communication protocols. Her approach was patient yet firm, emphasizing the importance of discipline even when adrenaline surged. The juniors appreciated her guidance, finding in her a role model who combined technical skill with steady leadership. One afternoon, during a debriefing session, Lieutenant Harper acknowledged Mia's growing presence. "Your precision has saved us from costly mistakes more than once," he remarked. "It's clear you've earned your place here." Mia accepted the praise with a quiet nod, aware that respect was a currency earned through consistent action rather than words. She remained mindful of the high stakes, each success a step forward, each challenge a test of resilience. Colonel Grant's occasional visits to the unit reinforced this reality. His sharp eyes assessed performance, and his subtle acknowledgments of Mia's contributions served as both encouragement and expectation. She understood that her role was evolving, from a background analyst to a key player in the base's defense strategy. The intensity of the environment tested Mia's endurance. Long hours, split-second decisions, and the constant pressure to anticipate threats demanded both mental acuity and emotional resilience. Yet she thrived, drawing strength from the knowledge that her work protected not only the base but countless lives dependent on secure communications. Despite the demands, Mia found moments of quiet satisfaction. Anomalies she flagged early prevented breaches, protocols she helped refine enhanced system resilience. These victories, though often invisible beyond the unit, fueled her determination. Interactions with her colleagues grew more collaborative. Even Specialist Reed, once skeptical, sought Mia's opinion during critical analyses. The initial barriers of doubt gave way to professional respect, forged in the crucible of shared mission. Mia also embraced opportunities to engage in cross-unit briefings, where her insights contributed to broader strategic discussions. Her disciplined approach to data and clear communication style earned her a voice in shaping security protocols. The transition from a silent operator to an influential participant reflected her growing stature. In quieter moments, Mia reflected on her journey. The path from a desk-bound data clerk to a trusted cyber operations analyst was marked by challenges and growth. Each day reaffirmed that discipline, precision, and calm under pressure were as vital as technical expertise. The Cyber Operations Unit, once an intimidating arena of fast-paced decisions and high tension, had become a place where Mia's skills and character converged. Her influence rippled quietly but steadily, shaping a culture that valued thoroughness as much as speed. As dusk settled over the base, the glow from monitors painted the faces of the team in shades of blue and green. Mia sat at her station, alert and composed, ready for whatever the next alert might bring. The steady pulse of data was both her battlefield and her sanctuary. In this high-stakes environment, Mia Carter had found her stride. Her discipline and attention to detail were no longer just personal strengths but foundational pillars supporting the entire unit's mission. Through quiet leadership and unwavering focus, she was helping to safeguard the base from threats that lurked unseen, proving that even in the fastest of arenas, precision and calm were the greatest weapons. The conference room buzzed with quiet anticipation as Mia Carter took her seat among the assembled officers and analysts. Today was different. A formal ceremony was set to recognize the efforts of the Cyber Operations Unit during a recent, significant cyber threat that had tested the base's defenses. The atmosphere was charged, a mix of solemnity and pride permeating the space. Mia sat upright, her mind steady, aware that this moment marked a turning point in her military career. Colonel Marcus Grant stood at the podium, his authoritative presence commanding silence. His gaze swept over the room before settling on Mia, a subtle but unmistakable acknowledgement that did not go unnoticed. Today, we recognize the dedication and excellence demonstrated by members of our intelligence community in defending this base against sophisticated cyber threats, he began, his voice resonating with respect and gravity. He outlined the complexity of the recent attack, praising the swift and coordinated response that had prevented what could have been catastrophic breaches. The audience listened intently as he detailed the critical roles played by various team members, culminating in a pointed commendation for Mia Carter. Private First Class Carter's meticulous analysis and unwavering discipline were instrumental in identifying and neutralizing vulnerabilities that could have compromised our communications network, Grant announced. Her contributions exemplify the highest standards of professionalism and dedication within our ranks. Mia felt a surge of pride as the room broke into applause. The recognition was not just a personal achievement but a testament to the importance of the often unseen work carried out behind the scenes. Colonel Grant continued, emphasizing that success in their field required not only technical skill but also the discipline to maintain vigilance under pressure. Following the formal commendation, Mia was presented with an official award, an emblem symbolizing her exceptional service. The weight of the medal in her hands was more than symbolic, it was a tangible acknowledgement of her commitment and impact. Receiving it in front of her peers and superiors was both humbling and empowering. As the ceremony concluded, Colonel Grant addressed Mia privately. "This award is a recognition of your skill and dedication, but it also signals increased responsibility," he said, his tone serious but encouraging. "You are now a model for others to follow. Leadership is not just about rank, it's about setting an example every day." Mia nodded, absorbing the gravity of his words. The path ahead was clear, her success had opened doors, but it also demanded that she continue to uphold the high standards that had earned her this honor. Back at her workstation, the medal resting beside her keyboard, Mia reflected on the journey from her quiet beginnings to this moment of formal acknowledgement. The recognition solidified her place within the intelligence community, affirming that her skills and discipline were valued at the highest levels. Her colleagues offered congratulations, some with genuine warmth, others with a respectful nod. The dynamics within the unit had shifted. Mia was no longer just an analyst but a recognized contributor whose expertise commanded attention. Lieutenant Harper approached her later that day. "You've set a new standard for all of us," he said quietly. "Your discipline and precision have raised the bar." Mia smiled modestly. "I've learned a lot from everyone here. It's a team effort." Her role was evolving, extending beyond individual tasks to encompass mentorship and leadership. She began to take a more active role in training sessions, sharing her experience and emphasizing the importance of vigilance, accuracy, and calm under pressure. The formal recognition also brought a heightened awareness of the stakes involved. Mia understood that her actions now had broader implications, influencing not only immediate outcomes but also the culture and effectiveness of the entire intelligence apparatus. Colonel Grant's words echoed in her mind, leadership through example. She embraced this responsibility, determined to inspire others through her commitment and work ethic. As days passed, Mia balanced her growing duties with the technical demands of her position. The award was not an endpoint but a milestone, a reminder that excellence required continuous effort and adaptation. In moments of reflection, she acknowledged the challenges that had shaped her, the doubts, the skepticism, the pressure to prove herself. Each obstacle had reinforced her resolve, forging a discipline that was now recognized and respected. Sitting at her console, surrounded by the glow of monitors and the quiet hum of servers, Mia felt a deep sense of purpose. She was part of something larger, a mission to protect, to serve, and to lead through action. The journey was far from over, but with formal recognition came clarity and confidence. Mia Carter was no longer just a silent guardian of data but a key figure in the defense of her base, entrusted with responsibility and poised to shape the future of military intelligence through her example. Mia Carter returned to her workstation with a quiet sense of accomplishment, the official commendation resting neatly in a shadow box beside her keyboard. The familiar glow of the monitors bathed her in soft light, the hum of servers a comforting constant in the background. Yet, the The space that once felt like a simple station for data entry had transformed into a proving ground, a place where her efforts had tangible impact and where her presence mattered in ways she had only begun to understand. As she settled into her chair, Mia reflected on the path that had brought her here. She thought back to her earliest days on base, when her role was just a string of repetitive tasks, unnoticed and undervalued by many of her peers. The moments of doubt and invisibility she had endured now felt like distant shadows, eclipsed by the recognition of her contributions and the responsibility that came with them. Her hands moved over the keyboard with renewed purpose, each keystroke a deliberate act of defense in the ongoing struggle to safeguard the base's secrets. The data she processed was no longer just lines of code but a vital thread in the fabric of national security. Mia understood that even the quietest missions could have the greatest impact, and this knowledge fueled her dedication. Colleagues greeted her with a mix of respect and camaraderie, their attitudes shifting from distant acknowledgement to genuine connection. She found herself mentoring younger analysts, sharing lessons learned and encouraging the same discipline and attention to detail that had defined her own journey. The influence she wielded was subtle but growing, shaping the culture of the intelligence community on base. In the quiet moments between tasks, Mia allowed herself to consider the future. The opportunities ahead were both exciting and daunting, filled with challenges that would test her skills and resolve. Yet, she was ready. The journey from overlooked data clerk to key player in cyber defense had forged resilience and confidence that would carry her forward. Her supervisor, Lieutenant Ramirez, stopped by her station with a rare smile. "You've come a long way, Carter," he said quietly. "The base is stronger because of your work." Mia nodded, grateful for the acknowledgement. "I'm just doing my part." "That part is essential," he replied. "Never forget that." The words resonated deeply. For Mia, service was not about recognition but about commitment, about showing up every day with discipline and integrity, no matter the task. The commendation was a milestone, but the mission was ongoing. As the base continued its operations, Mia remained vigilant, aware that threats evolved and that security was a continuous battle. The lessons she had learned, the value of precision, the strength of quiet leadership, the power of perseverance, would guide her through whatever lay ahead. Standing briefly to stretch, Mia gazed out the narrow window at the sprawling compound beyond, the military vehicles and personnel moving with purpose. She felt a profound connection to this place, to the people who depended on the work done behind the scenes, and to the mission that defined her service. Returning to her desk, she adjusted her headset, ready to receive the next encrypted transmission. The steady flow of data awaited, each message a challenge, each task an opportunity. Mia Carter was no longer invisible, she was a soldier who had earned respect through action and discipline. Her journey was far from over, but she faced it with unwavering focus and a deep sense of purpose. In the quiet glow of the operations center, surrounded by the hum of technology and the weight of responsibility, Mia embraced her role fully. She understood now more than ever that even the smallest actions could ripple outward, shaping the course of events in ways unseen. As she began her next shift, Mia's thoughts were clear, every keystroke mattered, every detail counted, and through steadfast commitment, she was part of something greater. The quiet missions, the unseen battles, they were the true heart of service. Mia Carter had found her purpose, embodying the essence of what it meant to serve with discipline, precision, and unwavering dedication.